I think one of the most misunderstood traits of Jesus, and one that we are called to, is meekness. I've often heard it said meekness is weakness turned inside out. But I want to tell you what meekness really is massive amounts of self-control. I want to start with Jesus, although they say that Moses was pretty meek as well. So we look at Jesus, how often he had to have incredible amounts of self-control. I read about this passage in Luke 11, and it starts with Luke 11, verse 37 is where I'm going to start with. And this is where I want you to hear that he's actually at the house of a Pharisee. Okay, so picture this. They're like, hey, come to my house, have dinner. So it says, after he had spoken, a Pharisee invited him to dine at his home. He entered and reclined at table to eat. The Pharisee was amazed to see that he did not observe the prescribed washing before the meal. The Lord said to him, "Oh, you Pharisees, although you cleanse the outside of the cup and the dish, inside you're filled with plunder and evil. You fools. Did not the maker of the outside also make the inside?" And so he goes on and he's talking about giving alms and lecturing them. And he says, "Woe to you, Pharisees! You pay tithes of mint and rue and of every garden herb, but you pay no attention to the judgment and to love of God. These you should have done without overlooking the others. Woe to you, Pharisees! You loved a seat of honor in the synagogues, greetings in the marketplace. Woe to you! You are like unseen graves over which people unknowingly walk." Now, he keeps reading, and then one of the scholars says, "Dude, hey, by doing this, you're insulting us too." So then Jesus goes on and he says, yeah, you too. Okay, so I don't want to read everything that Jesus said, but I want you to picture the manners you're told to have. Look, you're in someone's house and they say something you disagree with, and you just, you know, I think it's okay to kill babies. And you're like, well, I'm just getting politics, or we don't talk religion or politics, whatever. And I'm not saying you necessarily should. This video is about what on earth is meekness, because Jesus is painted as this really weak guy who just stands there quietly and passive and lets people say what they want to say about him. Oh no. How much guts would it take for you to stand up to people who are speaking in a way that other people are letting happen? I think about it. Everyone's looking around, someone's saying something, and everyone's too cowardly to say anything. And then every now and then you get this one strong person. It's like, that's not exactly true. And they stand up to him. And then all of a sudden you see the rest of the people like, yeah, what he said. That takes courage. Now, meekness, remember, is self-control. So we're not just talking about speaking truth with courage. We're also talking about when not to speak. So I want to, jump ahead here to when Jesus was being interrogated by Pilate, Herod, and all the rest of the guys. And when he's before Herod, it said that Herod questioned him at length, but Jesus gave him no answer. The chief priests and scribes, meanwhile, stood by accusing him harshly. All right. When people are calling you names, when they're saying things about you, what do? You lash out. You're like, no one says that to me. No one puts me down. No one disrespects me. Right? We are so quick to defend ourselves, and many times, perhaps we should. Although I have talked in the past about how St. Faustina and others say, don't necessarily defend yourself. Let Jesus be your defender. That's a big one. But again, this idea of meekness, self-control, takes so much strength, inner strength, spiritual strength, emotional strength. Most of us, when people are insulting us, we just want to haul off and throat punch them. And when they're saying names or calling you things, we're so quick to call names back. We get sarcastic. You hurt me? Well, then F you. I can hurt you too. But what if someone is insulting you? What if someone is calling you names? and you just pay them no mind. You look at them, and then you go on your business. They can't stand when they can't rile you up. Meekness means I will control my behaviors. And it takes great strength in this day and age where we are so feeding our flesh. It says, don't let anyone hurt you. You deserve to be happy. If someone does this, you do that. People are running around punching 76-year-old ladies praying in front of abortion clinics, and they can't stand it. And I've seen some of these young men. I think of the Tradition, Faith, and Property, I think it's called, TFP. I look at some of these young men who are standing in front of these abortion clinics, and people are just yelling in their faces, spitting at them, sometimes getting punched. And they just show great strength, and they do not respond in kind. Now, I know everybody's not wired for that. But I want you to think that, in fact, is meekness. I see people like, I think, Charlie Kirk, and he just argues pro-life stuff. He argues truth. He argues against transgenderism, whatever. And people will come from college campuses, and they'll have a chair, and they're like, okay, hit me, say something, and then and you're just a slave to that. And then he just calm and responds back. That takes control. That takes incredible amounts of strength. Self-control is a virtue. And if you truly want to have strength, that is one of the greatest things you can cultivate. If you want to be like Christ, you want to be meek and mild. That means when people yell at you and curse you and say ugly things about you or persecute you, and we are in that generation, you withhold your tongue. And that really, for so many reasons, it protects you from saying something that you'll have to answer to God for. It protects you from sinning. But then it also makes that person, they're like, it illuminates their own anger and nastiness. Then third, other people see in you something. You're like, wow, that guy, that girl's got massive self-control. How do they do that? And they want what you have. Because we all know that what you have is a light of Christ. Be meek. Study meekness. Be like Christ. As I said a little bit earlier, Moses was known to be meek. He had a stutter. It was very difficult. But that didn't stop him from standing in front of I think it was 1.5 million Israelites, standing in front of them and saying, these are the 10 commandments. That's a sin. Answering for God. Meekness is a beautiful and holy virtue. Christ came down to show us what it was like to be meek. And I think we should do our best to emulate him. What are your thoughts? How meek are you? Are you a strong man? Are you afraid of meekness? Or do you now understand that the strongest of men are the meekest? That takes incredible strength to hold back your flesh and let your spirit win. I'm Dr. Christine Bacon. Thanks for watching this informational Bacon Bit. And as always, remember to live your life sunny side up.